The wheels of Sophia's wheelchair scraped against the uneven cobblestones outside Boston Memorial Hospital. Valentina Barnes, dressed impeccably in her business suit, stood helplessly watching as the chair got stuck between two stones. Her daughter, only 8 years old, stared blankly up at the gloomy sky. Earlier that morning, the doctor had whispered to Valentina, "We've tried everything. The spinal injury is too severe." Just then, as a soft rain began to fall, a tall man appeared behind them. His hair was a little long, his worn jacket hanging loosely over a simple t-shirt. In his hand was a little girl clutching his fingers tightly. "Let me help her," he said, his voice calm but firm. Valentina looked up, not knowing that this moment would change everything. She never imagined herself as CEO of Barnes Innovations, a leading medical technology company founded by her late father, Dr. Lawrence Barnes, a renowned neurologist who had died suddenly in a lab accident 3 years ago. With her Harvard MBA and a background in finance, Valentina had planned to conquer Wall Street, not walk the sterile halls of a medical empire. Yet fate had other plans. At 35, she was thrust into a role carrying the weight of her father's legacy, a legacy she feared she barely understood. That fear was manageable until 2 months ago, when Sophia's life was shattered in a devastating car accident. Paralyzed from the waist down, the vibrant little girl was suddenly at the center of Valentina's world, and her medical battles became painfully personal. Specialists flew in from Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, and even Tokyo, but their prognosis remained grim. With therapy, maybe some function might return, they said carefully, leaving unspoken the limits they couldn't promise to overcome. Every night, after Sophia fell asleep, Valentina sat beside her, poring over medical charts like financial reports, desperate for a breakthrough. Meanwhile, across the country, Griffin Hayes was carrying a quiet confidence born from years of hard-fought victories and heartbreak. At 39, with streaks of gray in his hair earned through endless 16-hour neurosurgery shifts, he was once the brightest star in Dr. Barnes's orbit, the youngest neurosurgeon ever granted attending privileges at Massachusetts General. But 3 years ago, Griffin's world unraveled. His wife, Emily, had lost a brutal battle with aggressive cancer despite his desperate, experimental treatments. Following her death, whispers and accusations from her family drove him out of Boston's elite medical circles. He relocated to Portland with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, choosing to work at a small rehab clinic where grateful smiles were the reward he craved more than prestige. Lily, like her father, had a special gift, a medical intuition that surpassed even trained professionals. At home, she treated a growing army of stuffed animals, creating her own clinic to heal imaginary ailments. When Griffin read about Sophia's spinal injury in a medical journal, something stirred inside him, a memory of the research notebooks Dr. Barnes had entrusted to him before his death. Unfinished work on neural regeneration that might hold the key to helping the little girl. Valentina's first reaction upon seeing Griffin in Sophia's hospital room was suspicion. His worn clothes and disheveled appearance hardly matched the pristine credentials of the specialist she'd flown in from abroad. "Who are you?" she asked, stepping between him and her daughter. Griffin raised his hands calmly. "I'm Dr. Griffin Hayes. I was your father's student and research partner for 7 years at Mass General." His voice carried quiet authority and genuine respect, making Valentina pause, searching his face for a familiar spark. Griffin explained he had read about Sophia's case and recognized her as Dr. Barnes's granddaughter. "Your father entrusted me with his final spinal cord regeneration research. I believe it can help her." Valentina's defenses remained high. "What makes you think you can succeed where Johns Hopkins and Mayo Clinic have failed?" she challenged, her voice edged with a protective fierceness sharpened since the accident. Before Griffin could answer, Lily stepped forward, clutching a worn teddy bear and toy stethoscope. With the fearless honesty only children have, she walked straight to Sophia's bedside. "Hi, I'm Lily. Can I check your bear? He looks like he needs a doctor." Sophia, who had barely spoken to the child psychologist Valentina had hired, looked up in surprise. Something in Lily's straightforward manner cracked Sophia's shell. She nodded slightly, offering her stuffed rabbit named Hopper for inspection. Valentina caught her breath. This small breakthrough filled her with cautious hope. "1 session," she said finally, "and I'll be here the whole time." We stop at the first sign of distress. What followed was a rhythm that became the highlight of Sophia's recovery. Griffin brought Lily along with his medical bag filled with advanced neural stimulation equipment and colorful bandages for the stuffed animals. His approach was a unique blend of scientific rigor and playful creativity. Where other specialists were formal and clinical, Griffin was warm and engaging, treating Sophia as a whole person, recognizing that her emotional state was integral to healing. The most remarkable part was Lily's role. While Griffin guided Sophia through physical exercises, Lily engaged her in elaborate make-believe games that happened to require focusing on different muscles. Lily needs a special assistant to hold this very important flashlight, Lily would declare, positioning Sophia's arm perfectly as Griffin had instructed. The natural ease with which Lily interacted with Sophia, without pity or awkwardness, turned therapy into play, making medical progress a shared adventure. Valentina, who initially planned to watch every moment like a hawk, found herself quietly stepping back, amazed as her daughter began to laugh again, even confined to her wheelchair. Sophia, once withdrawn and silent, eagerly awaited each day's adventure with Dr. Griffin and Dr. Lily. Griffin's method was unlike any other. He combined cutting-edge neurostimulation with the simple joy of childhood play, explaining that the brain forms stronger neural pathways during engaging play than during forced exercise. The brain doesn't distinguish therapy from fun, he told Valentina one afternoon as they watched the girls play doctor. It only knows engagement or disengagement. Your father understood that. Each mention of her father stirred a complex swirl of grief and curiosity in Valentina. She lingered after sessions, asking Griffin not only about Sophia's treatment, but also about his work with Lawrence Barnes. Despite her skepticism, she couldn't deny the signs. Sophia was showing increased sensation in her legs, and her mood was lifting from resigned despair to cautious hope. One afternoon, as Griffin demonstrated a new exercise aimed at strengthening neural pathways to Sophia's feet, something extraordinary happened. Sophia gasped, eyes wide with wonder. "I felt that," she exclaimed, staring at her foot. "I moved my toe." Valentina rushed to her side, watching in awe as Sophia focused, managing a small but unmistakable twitch of her big toe, the first voluntary movement below the injury site since the accident. Tears filled Valentina's eyes, and Griffin's steady professionalism barely masked his pride. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. "The neural pathways are starting to reconnect." Sophia excitedly showed Lily her moving toe, and the little girl clapped and cheered as if Sophia had just won a gold medal. Griffin placed a gentle hand on Valentina's shoulder, a quiet acknowledgement of the magnitude of the moment. It was the first time Valentina had truly allowed herself to hope and to trust the unconventional doctor with the worn jacket and brilliant mind. But not everyone shared that trust. In a tense boardroom meeting, Reed Martin, the company's research director, laid out a dossier revealing Griffin's past, a malpractice suit alleging experimental treatments led to a patient's death. The patient? Griffin's late wife, Emily. Though the case was settled and Griffin disappeared from Boston's medical scene, Reed warned that continuing Griffin's experimental methods on Sophia might expose the company to legal risks. Valentina felt as if the floor dropped out beneath her. The revelation felt like betrayal after weeks of growing trust. Questions haunted her. Was Griffin driven by genuine healing or by a desperate need to redeem his loss through Sophia? That night, after Sophia was asleep, Valentina confronted Griffin, who met her anger with quiet dignity, explaining Emily's terminal condition and that she had volunteered for an experimental treatment based on her father's research. Despite understanding, Valentina's doubts lingered. The next day, she arranged for Sophia to be transferred to a prestigious Swiss clinic offering methodical, documented treatments with ethical approvals, safe, conventional, and proven, though lacking Griffin's personal touch and intuitive brilliance. When Griffin learned of the decision, his composed facade cracked. "You're making a mistake," he warned urgently. "Neural regeneration isn't a light switch. Interrupting now could set her back. We're building new pathways, disrupt them, and they may never reconnect the same way." But Valentina stood firm. The Swiss clinic was safer, backed by science, and free from the shadows of past tragedy and untested methods. Griffin knelt beside Sophia to say goodbye gently, promising Lily would keep in touch and protect their stuffed animal patients. Sophia's tears fell as she clung to Lily's teddy bear, refusing to board the plane. "I want to stay with Dr. Griffin and Lily." Valentina knelt beside her, coaxing, The doctors in Switzerland have special equipment.